Okay, our beloveds. So, if you trust that all is exactly as it should be, which many of you simply do not adhere to in any way, manner, or respect, but if you do, then you begin to see the patterns and the breadcrumbs within your lives and how things unfold, unfurl, and tell you the lessons which we have to share. So when you begin to connect to these energies and begin to really align with the fact that your life has a particular rhythm and flow, the river of life that we have spoken of so frequently. If you really believe that, then as you come around a bend and see something that you were not expecting, you can either look at it with sheer horror or curiosity. Because if you know that it is meant to be there, then you experience it differently. So now we are showing our another some rides out at Disneyland, and which one doesn't really matter, but picture yourself either on a designated track or a body of water, a stream, and you are in some kind of a vehicle that moves you throughout this terrain park. Now, when you realize that the objects that you are going to encounter have been pre-designated, right? That they are meant to be there when you come around each and every bend, and that all the people, those ahead of you and those behind you, will also have this exact same experience, right? When you know that and really appreciate that, you can step outside of the fear or the anger or to a certain extent even the joy and simply experience it with curiosity, with a detachment that allows you to figure out what there is to learn instead of reacting to whatever emotion is elicited. Now, the one exception is laughter. Laughter always raises your frequency and brings you into a state of simple enjoyment, but it is different than joy and happiness, because that is still more of an emotion in your head versus a sensation in your heart. Okay, so now going back to the river of life. When you can get into that kind of a mindset, that everything is happening for a purpose, and that you can look at it for your learning opportunities instead of going into your space of sadness or loss or anger or any other, generally speaking, negative emotion. We ask you to look ahead further down the path to see where whatever you learn from that particular experience can be built upon to teach you greater resiliency and sense of self that will help to guide you around the next few bends, because it is actually here to teach you something meaningful that you can grow from. So when you see life as learning opportunities to get you to where you desire to go, which is a greater place of understanding, a greater place of appreciation for where you currently are at and where you have come from. Others may call it ascension, growing spiritually. There are lots of different words that you can attribute to this growth, but if we're looking at it from a perfectly humanic perspective, it just means that you are becoming a better person today than you were yesterday, simply based on those life's experiences that you have encountered and somehow managed to overcome. Now, why is this important today in our another's life? Because we are trying to teach her, number one, to surrender to where we would like for her to take her. She, once again, has some worries that are filling her mind that we are trying to help her to understand are not as bad as she sees them. When you have been through a fire, if you see a match struck and burning ahead of you, your natural first inclination is to say, I am going to burn again. And we're trying to convince her that it is just merely a match up ahead and that she is now to figure out what this means for her. How does she wish to respond to it versus reacting? Now, the reaction is to take a hammer and squish that goddamn cockroach that she sees, but we're trying to convince her that this is not the best course of action for her, that she is just to sit back and let it unfold, but also to go within and to really set clear intentions on what it is that she desires to build in the future, and then to allow us to bring it to her in whatever form that is best suited for her to experience and to grow and to learn from. And for her to simply trust that what we are building for her in its various stages and forms are exactly what she needs. So the reality is, when a door closes, it is to show you that that is not the current right path, and to look for other opportunities where you can flow forward. However, when you are on the river of life, you don't even have to look for closed doors or windows, because if you simply sit in your river raft, your vehicle will naturally take you around the closed doors, through the crevices, the windows, the openings. And if you just simply go with that flow, instead of wondering, well, maybe I should jump ship and jump on a different one because I don't like what I'm feeling right now. But we're asking her just to trust us, to surrender to the boat that she is in, and that when a door is meant to close, it will naturally close. Whether she naturally closes it to a certain extent or the universe does. The point being is allowing yourself to surrender to the breadcrumbs of life also means that sometimes you allow your life to go down a particular path that scares you because you don't know where it's going. You feel like it is coming to a closed end, and then what? But if you simply allow us to keep you in that river of life and to flow you and your boat to where you need to go, trusting that we're not going to overturn your boat and make you drown because you have finally surrendered. And we want for you to get through this entire journey successfully so that when you get to the end, to the finish line, which in Kati's case is to have her boat go off of a waterfall where her wings allow her to take flight and she just soars. She has done this so many times in the past, but she again today is struggling to trust that this is indeed the case in the present because of her trauma wounds. And she doesn't trust us enough yet. So today we will remind her of what she knows to be true, what she knows to hold as absolutes for her and her life, and what this means for her and her choices and her intentions, as well as her future, and that we are not in any way creating a scenario where we will allow her to be harmed as she was in the past, because she now desires something differently. She now values herself so much that her intentions are creating those healthy boundaries to keep her safe. But sometimes she is overly cautious because of the pain that she has felt and the tremendous capacity of loving that she possesses. And she just really wants to make good choices within all that she does, within all that she allows into her life. She has realized this last week how very lonely she is in certain ways within her life, because we can now say pretty much all of her family has walked away. The one exception that she has is her stepfather and her children. There is no one else. So when you get to that space and you realize that by creating healthy boundaries, you are irritating others to a point where they simply will not tolerate you as you are. They will not accept you as you are. They will reject you as you are. And it is completely within their range of emotions to do this. But when you are the person living in the center of this world, saying, me being me and expressing me is literally rejecting everybody, right? She feels she's rejecting those people when she's not. She's just finally expressing herself and saying, love me as I am, accept me as I am, support me as I am, and see me as I am. And for those who can't, for whatever reason, and who choose to say that somehow there is something wrong with her because she differs from them in some meaningful or important way in their mindset, she feels very lonely because, again, she is being shown how you have to conform in order to be loved. You have to compromise in order to be seen and accepted by others. And we're trying to teach her that she is no longer to make herself small. She is no longer to accept what feels lesser than. She knows what she is seeking in life and what she feels that she deserves. But the question is, how do you get there without blowing up bridges? How do you get there without saying, I think I'm done? How do you get there by just simply saying, okay, I don't understand what this is or where it's going, but I guess I will give it another day, as there's nothing really specific that I can point to that would cause me to walk away other than this gnawing feeling in my gut that says there's just something that doesn't harmonize yet. But sometimes simply just that acknowledgement of saying, this doesn't harmonize yet, but I'm willing to just stay and see, creates the grace and the space for these things to unfold as they are meant to. Now, we don't know what this looks like, because the fact is that people have free will. But we can see enough of the probabilities and the potentials to say, stick it out for a little bit longer. We'll let you know when you are to veer on a different path, because we will literally take you down a new path. This is a very unusual way to live for somebody who has been logical and left-brained her entire life, who meticulously planned out her life up to the point of death to a certain extent. And we are now asking her to live in the now and not even to look to tomorrow in certain instances, because it doesn't serve her. So now, why do we continue to use our another as an example of the microcosm of the macrocosm? Because so many of you are so quick to judge all of those around you as being lesser than, unworthy, untrustworthy, not helpful, critical, cruel, unkind, selfish, full of desire to hurt you, unwillingness to grow, to compromise in thought. We can go on and on and on in the critical words. And when you get to that way of thinking, you create more of those experiences. And so our another is willing to set aside some of her own desires for emotional control over her current situation. And she is instead giving us, the grace of another day to see what we can bring about without blowing up a bridge ahead of her, but instead waiting to cross over it to see if it leads her somewhere where she desires to go. And if not, she can simply retrace her steps and come back and take a different route. And this is what we wish for you, humanity, to learn. You blow up so many bridges with your words and your actions stemming from self-righteousness, knowing that somehow you know better what is going on in somebody's world or what is right for their world, that you create more of those negative experiences for you, and you will continue down that path. And it will create a sense of loneliness within you because you don't adhere to other people. You just slide off like Teflon. And the fact is that humanity is meant to be interconnected because you are all one. And until you realize that what you say to another person, that hurts that person, you are saying to yourself. You are the toe, they are the nose, or whatever analogy that works for you. And you are taking that knife and you are stabbing a different body part because you think it is your enemy, when really you are just causing yourself to bleed profusely, putting all of your organs at risk. This is what your utter hatred for humanity is now causing. And so we ask you simply to have compassion and connection with others, even where you don't agree with them. Your goal is not to change anyone. Your goal is to accept everyone as they are and to see if through that mere acceptance they shift, that humanity shifts to a more collaborative, compassionate, and caring way of living amongst one another and caring for one another. That by you allowing others to simply be themselves, that is the catalyzing agent to reunite you all. So this is what we are asking our another for today to give us an opportunity to bring about a shift in the world that she cannot and will not accept to be without. She knows what she wants, but she's also allowing us the flexibility to help to design what is best suited for her, rather than her just simply making a reactionary decision based on past hurts and insecurities. And instead, she's just giving us some grace and some time to see the what if, how the what if could play out for her. And no matter how it plays out, it will be designed to meet her desires, her goals, her expectations, and her creative needs, most importantly, to explore this universe so that she can become the most full expression of herself through trial and error. And so it is. Namaste.